5 minutes ago, a shocking event unfolded at an international forum, leaving everyone in disbelief. Donald Trump, in a fit of fury, slammed his fist on the podium and accused Russia of relying solely on oil and gas. But then, Dmitry Medvedev rose to his feet, delivering a statement that ignited the audience into applause, nearly leaving Trump speechless. What did Medvedev say that caused the world to hold its breath? Stay tuned for this riveting tale. As Medvedev entered the hall, his movements exuded a measured confidence, a hallmark of someone accustomed to both verbal and intellectual battles. The spotlight sliced through the dimly lit space, casting shadows that danced across eager faces. Some in attendance smiled, anticipating a thrilling exchange, while others scanned the crowd for familiar faces, as if seeking a lifeboat amidst a storm. Dressed in a deep navy suit that absorbed rather than reflected light, his presence was powerful yet understated. The crispness of his collar accentuated his composure. Although the years had marked his features, they had not robbed him of vitality or wit. His sharp cheekbones and a slight smile hinted at a strategist ready to strike precisely when the moment was right. Across from him, Trump settled into a chair upholstered in glaring crimson leather. He commanded the space with his broad shoulders and vibrant tie, projecting an air of bravado. Even before he was introduced, he filled the air with his voice, an eager announcement that sent tremors through the microphones. America has always been first, he declared, his tone slicing through the silence. First in economy, in technology, in freedom. Russia is merely trailing behind us. A murmur rippled through the audience, some applauded too loudly, while others whispered quietly. Yet, Medvedev remained steadfast, his fingers lightly grazing the armrests as he gauged the room's pulse. He held a deliberate pause, longer than customary, before responding. You forget, he countered, each word sharpened like a blade, who was the first in space? Who rebuilt a nation from the ruins after the most terrible war? Who created a society where workers and scholars were truly equal? Trump leaned forward, theatrically gesturing as he sought to dominate the exchange. Ah, Mr. Medvedev, how surprising to see you here. You usually hide behind your so-called intricate writings. Here, face to face, what can you possibly say to astonish me? A nervous laugh rippled through the audience. Medvedev raised his chin slightly, his gaze unwavering. You speak of posts, yet I speak of lives. While your corporations profited from arms sales, we lost millions trying to save Europe. His final words rang out like the tolling of a bell, silencing the murmurs and prompting a disorganized yet fervent round of applause. Moments of tension thrummed in the air. Would Trump respond, or could he muster the composure for another round? He hesitated, fingers drumming nervously on the podium. Your country has always broken international agreements, he shot back, emphasizing always with conviction. From the Cold War to today, America has been the guardian of the law, while Russia undermines it. Medvedev's lips curled into a slight smile, tinged with irony. International law? Your country bombed Yugoslavia without Security Council approval. You've waged wars in Iraq and Libya, leaving chaos in your wake. Do you call that law? The audience began to stir, some standing in support of Medvedev. The atmosphere thickened, taut with anticipation as the two gladiators exchanged blows, their words echoing like weapons in a larger arena. America may claim primacy, but Medvedev emphasized that such notions were paper-thin. The audience felt the tension as he pressed forward, citing historical truths that reshaped the narrative and echoed loud applause across the hall. But would that be enough to tilt the scales? The conflict was just beginning, as every exchange unfolded layer by layer, revealing deeper truths and igniting fiery debate. Ultimately, this confrontation between two powerful figures was not just a scholarship of language but a battle for perception, historical legitimacy, and, ultimately, the future of two nations. Summary of the previous part. Amid an intense debate, the tension in the room was palpable as the two leaders faced off. Donald Trump's voice broke through the silence, boldly proclaiming America's supremacy in economic and technological realms. Dmitry Medvedev remained composed, ready to respond to Trump's accusations about Russia's standing, as voices in the crowd murmured with anticipation. The atmosphere shifted dramatically when Medvedev finally spoke, his voice calm but sharp, like a blade slicing through the tension. You seem to forget, he began, unflinching, who was the first to venture into space, who lifted a nation from the ashes of the most devastating war. His words cut deep, igniting a spark of intrigue among the audience. We built a society where workers and scientists were given equal footing. Trump leaned in, his demeanor exuberant, arms animated like a conductor orchestrating chaos. "Ah, Mr. Medvedev, I'm shocked to see you here. Usually, you're hidden behind your so-called filigree texts online, where you roar and express discontent. But here, face to face, what can you possibly surprise me with?" Nervous laughter rippled through the crowd, a few gasps escaped lips too shocked to stifle their reactions. Medvedev's gaze sharpened, piercing through the mirth. "You talk about posts, while I speak of lives," he shot back with precision. "When your corporations profited from arms supplies, we lost millions to save Europe." His voice crescendoed, and the solemn echo of history hung in the air, silencing the room. Gasps and murmurs replaced the laughter. The audience suddenly aware of the weight his words carried. As applause broke out hesitantly, a rhythm began to form, filling the room with life. Trump's lips pressed together, his fingers nervously drumming the table, caught off guard. He was contemplating a change of tactic. "Your country has always violated international treaties," he blurted out, emphasizing the word always with fervor. The response was electric, setting the stage for a confrontation that few could have anticipated. The crowd's excitement was palpable, anticipation crackled like static in the air. What would Medvedev counter with next? Would he delve deeper into historical confrontations? The suspense tightened like a drawn bowstring, ready to snap in the next moment. From Cold War shadows to the present, America claims to safeguard the rule of law. Russia, its breaker. But what if the real breakers wear stars and stripes? Could a single bombshell revelation from history shatter Trump's bravado forever? Picture the electric hum of the crowd rising, palms clapping in applause, as the hall vibrated with life. Trump pressed his lips, poised for a rebuttal, yet he hesitated. His fingers tapped nervously on the polished tabletop. He shifted tactics, ready to pivot. "Your nation habitually defies global accords," he accused, stressing the word habitually with raw force. The air thickened with murmurs of agreement, especially from those gauging the world by stock market ticks and profits. Medvedev paused deliberately, his hands steady on the table, locking eyes with his adversary. His voice dropped lower than before, yet it carried undeniable weight. "International accords," he echoed, tasting the words. "Who bombed Yugoslavia? Sans Security Council nod. Who waged wars in Iraq and Libya, sowing mayhem in their wake? Who armed tyrants when it suited profit? Is that your definition of justice?" A shiver ran through the room, the scent of tension sharp as cedar smoke. Trump raised a hand to cut him off, but the audience erupted louder this time. Segments of the crowd stood ovationing Medvedev, roaring support, while others yelled back for Trump, voices clashing like thunderclaps against a cliff. The atmosphere coiled tighter, a taut wire ready to snap. In that charged instant, Medvedev leaned forward, speaking softly yet cutting through the din. "America might rank first on paper alone. But in the hearts of peoples, the true pioneer endures, the land that crushed fascism's spine." His declaration landed like a thunderbolt finale. The hall burst into a tempest of cheers, feet stomping the floor, hands waving wildly, palms stinging with each fervent clap. Some leaped to their feet, others hunched silent in seats, sensing the duel was intensifying, with deadlier blows looming. Medvedev eased back, exuding calm mastery. He had time, packed with tales from the past, solid truths, and unflinching poise. Trump only banked on unchecked vigor and volume to drown out dissent. But volume masks weakness, not strength of warmth. Trump exhaled loudly, as if winded from a sprint. Yet it was his signature ploy: impose a frantic pace, overwhelm with energy, drag the other into the fray. He thrust a hand skyward, conducting like an orchestral maestro, and thundered on, accentuating alternate phrases with booming inflection. "Your land thrives solely on oil and gas supplies," he charged. "Your whole economy hinges on resource exports. America engineered innovations, the web, computing marvels, advanced healthcare, while Russia simply squats on pipelines, wallowing in bygone glory." His barbs hammered down like battering rams, blunt and brutal, aimed for visceral punch. Audience pockets erupted in claps, feeling the sting of those words echo in their bones. What dark secret lies buried in America's so-called victories that could humiliate Trump in this very moment? Even those who had just moments ago stirred the air with their clamor fell silent, as if the heavy clang of a giant bell had reverberated through the hall. Medvedev stood tall, his voice hardening into unyielding steel. The USSR rebuilt half of Europe without a single borrowed dollar. Our factories erected cities from rubble. Our engineers mentored students across dozens of nations. We delivered knowledge and innovation through books and breakthroughs, not warships or missiles. Can you imagine the uproar if the man who boasts of global dominance suddenly paused, mouth agape, while the crowd roars louder than a stadium at a championship final? That's exactly what happened when Medvedev turned Eisenhower's famous curtain against him, who was truly terrified of openness. 268 characters, Trump faltered. He tried to speak. But the crowd ignited then. Applause boomed like cannon fire. It rattled seats and drowned microphones. People leaped up. Phones flashed, capturing fury. Hands waved wildly, air thick with tension. Medvedev remained poised. He dipped his head slightly. Not claiming triumph. Just honoring truth's echo. The chill of doubt seeped in. He sensed defeat looming. His usual thunder cracked with nerves. Silence was his enemy. So he charged anew, no breath for the room. Russia's the invader, he barked. You crushed neighbors. Blood forged your empire. You menace everyone now. America carries liberty. We shield our partners. He rushed ahead. Fearful of interruption. Hands sliced sharp through emptiness. Gestures broad, yet shaky. Medvedev turned slowly. Eyes calm as a frozen lake. No anger flickered. He spoke deliberately. Each word a piercing blade in the hush. Invader, he echoed. Recall this. America lit more fires lately than any land. Vietnam scorched. Panama quaked. Iraq crumbled. Libya bled. Syria fractured. How many perished under your strikes? How many nations vanished, masked as freedom? He paused. A cough echoed from the throne. Someone muttered, we shed 27 million in the war against hate. We grasp aggression's toll. Tension coiled tighter. Like a storm about to burst. Would Trump's next retort shatter the stalemate? Or reveal a fatal weakness? What hidden blow might end this clash? Stay tuned, the edge looms nearer. Approximate 1800 characters. The hall fell into a stunned silence, buzzing with anticipation after Dmitry Medvedev exposed the human toll of America's military actions in Iraq and Syria. He bluntly questioned the cost in lives and nations destroyed under the guise of spreading freedom. In a powerful pause, broken only by a cough from the crowd, another voice rang out, reminding all of Russia's staggering loss of 27 million souls in World War II to crush Nazism. That intimate knowledge of aggression's dark price ignited roaring applause from African and South American delegates. Imagine the raw sting of a question that cuts through the air like a sharp blade. Have you pondered the real price tag on the oil that drenched your soldiers in foreign blood, far from home? Picture the scent of spilled fuel mingling with the metallic tang of tension in the room. Sweat beaded on brows, fists clenched on polished tables, as voices erupted in raw shouts of truth, or no, clangoring through the space. But Medvedev's calm only deepened, his steel gaze unwavering amid the chaos. What explosive revelation awaited next in this clash of titans? Trump slammed his palm down, the smack echoing like a gunshot, rattling the table's edge and silencing the murmurs. He jabbed at Russia's threats to NATO, accusing them of encircling the globe with drills and scaring neighbors. America safeguards Europe from your menace, he barked. Medvedev leaned forward, irony curling his lips like smoke from a distant fire. NATO, that alliance promised not to expand eastward after the 90s. Yet it shattered every vow, creeping bases closer to our doors. Who ringed Russia with missiles, labeling it defense? We merely counter your moves. But blaming the other feels so convenient, doesn't it? He raised his hand, slicing the air. International law insists on indivisible security. You twisted it into a one-sided game, America shielded, the rest muted. This isn't justice, it's tyranny. The crowd's murmurs swelled to a crescendo, applause clashing with cries of deceit. Heat in the hall rose, like a forge's glow, fingers drumming impatiently on armrests. But in this furnace, Medvedev thrived on facts, impervious to Trump's volume barrages. Then Trump pivoted abruptly, dodging the trap of his own double standards. He lashed out at allies, bellowing that Russia stands isolated, no true partners in sight. America commands Europe, Asia, allies scattered worldwide. You're alone. Medvedev chuckled softly, the sound carrying like gravel under boots. Allies? He echoed, tasting the word. You call dependence on your loans and bases allies. That's just rented loyalty at best. The Soviet Union forged real comrades who fought shoulder to shoulder in the trenches. Russia today courts partners who embrace cooperation willingly: China, India, nations across Asia, Africa, Latin America. Isolation? Perhaps you've simply blinked at anything beyond the Atlantic's waves. Sensory details flooded the space, the scratch of wool suits against skin, faint echoes of shuffling feet, the musty aroma of lingering cigars mixing with sharp cologne. A rhetorical thunderclap hit. Was this blindness to the world's vastness the real weakness, or had the stage tilted into uncharted territory? How would Trump's next raw outburst upend the fragile balance, and what hidden alliance truths still lurked in the shadows, ready to shatter perceptions? Stay tuned, as the duel spirals into its most volatile turn yet. In the heated debate on that global stage, Medvedev had just countered Trump's claims of Russia's isolation, highlighting voluntary partnerships with nations across Asia, Africa, and Latin America. He questioned if the world beyond the Atlantic had simply faded from view for his opponent. Now, tensions escalated as delegates reacted, and personal attacks began to fly. Picture the room pulsing with raw energy. The air thick with anticipation, like the stifling heat before a storm. Cheeks flushed, hands gripping armrests, every movement carried the weight of unspoken grudges. Suddenly, out of the ordinary words sparked an explosion of cheers from African and South American seats. Delegates leaped up, waving arms wildly, their voices blending into a thunderous roar that drowned out any rebuttal. Can you imagine the sting of humiliation when your boasts fall flat against undeniable facts? Trump's eyes narrowed, his jaw tightening like a vice. He shifted tactics, lunging into a personal jab at Russia's core. But your economy is brittle, he charged, voice cutting through the din. Your currency's worthless. America dictates global market rules, while Russia just sidesteps them. We're unmatched in tech, finance, military might. The words hung heavy, designed to crush spirits and dominate minds. Medvedev's lips curved in a faint, mocking smile, his gaze steady as steel. Sweet irony tingled in the air, like the sharp bite of chill on overheated skin. Your currency survives on endless debt, he shot back, each word a precise thrust. Debt that's swollen beyond recall. You fuel your system with a printing press that never stops. We ground ours in tangible resources and genuine factories. He paused, letting the silence sharpen like a knife. When the world tires of your hollow promises, we'll see who endures. The crowd erupted anew, a low hum swelling to a cascade of applause from Asian delegates shouting affirmations. Faces beamed with vindication, the tactile rush of support crackling under taut expectations. Trump bolted upright, chair scraping against the floor in a grating screech. His face matched the crimson fury of his tie, veins pulsing under flushed skin. You menace the globe with nukes, he bellowed, desperation lacing his tone. You terrify everyone with your missiles. America maintains balance, but Russia threatens annihilation. Sweat beaded on brows, the metallic tang of fear mixing with electric charge in the atmosphere. Had this fiery exchange just unveiled a dictator's panic? Or was it the prelude to an even deeper crisis? Medvedev rose slowly, his posture unrushed, exuding the firm grip of self-control. His voice lifted in volume without screaming, a commanding echo that reverberated like distant thunder. Balance, he echoed, dripping with scorn. Who unleashed nukes first? Not Russia. Not the Soviet Union. America ignited the atomic age, then blames others for defending themselves. We've never struck first, only retaliated. If fear's the topic, ask the Japanese people what your balance truly cost. The word slammed down like a hammer on anvil, igniting a frenzy. Shouts erupted in Japanese. Eastern delegates surging to their feet in a symphony of stomping and claps that vibrated through the room. Facing Trump directly, Medvedev's eyes burned with unyielding truth. You brand us aggressive, yet the annals of the 20th and 21st centuries reveal otherwise. America storms ahead with warfare. Russia rises only when conflict crosses our threshold. The contrast hung in the charged air, a humiliating twist that left his rival grappling for breath, the crowd's roar a tidal wave poised to sweep everything away. What if one more revelation could shatter this illusion completely? And how far would desperation drive the next outburst? In a shocking 5-minute moment at an international forum, Donald Trump furiously accused Russia of relying solely on oil and gas. What followed was an unexpected response from Dmitry Medvedev, igniting the crowd's applause. What did Medvedev say to leave everyone in stunned silence? Stay tuned for the unfolding drama. As Medvedev entered the hall, he exuded quiet confidence, each step measured and assured. The spotlight gently illuminated the faces in the crowd, some eager for a verbal clash, others scanning for familiar figures. Dressed in a dark blue suit, Medvedev's appearance was understated yet powerful. His face, marked by experience yet alive with energy, conveyed readiness. Across from him, Donald Trump dominated the space, his broad shoulders and bright tie radiating charisma. Before even being introduced, he spoke with a voice commanding enough to shake the microphones. America has always been first, he declared, claiming superiority over Russia in various domains. The room reacted, some applauded excitedly, others muttered discontent. Yet, Medvedev remained unmoved, lightly tapping the armrest of his chair, holding the room's attention. After a longer than expected pause, he crafted his response with precision. But let's not forget who was the first in space, who rebuilt after the darkest war, who created a society where workers and scholars started even. His voice, calm yet steely, cut through the noise. Trump, leaning forward, attempted to interject theatrically, questioning Medvedev's boldness when face to face. Laughter erupted, nervous but audible, highlighting the palpable tension between the two leaders. Medvedev, unwavering, countered, "You speak of posts while I speak of lives lost. When your companies profited from war, we sacrificed countless lives to save Europe." The room fell silent, save for a few scattered applause, as the power of his words resonated. Trump's expression tightened, but as he braced for a counter, the atmosphere thickened with anticipation. "You've always violated international laws," he shot back, emphasizing the word. The tension surged. Medvedev smirked, his expression hinting at a deeper truth. "And who bombed Yugoslavia without consent? Who caused chaos in Iraq and Libya? Is that your sense of law?" The audience split, some on their feet clapping for Medvedev, while others rallied for Trump. The moment hung crisp in the air as both leaders prepared for the next round, the stakes higher than ever. Medvedev leaned forward, lowering his voice. "America may think itself number one, but history remembers differently. It was us who broke the back of fascism." The electrifying sentiment swept the hall. Applause erupted, casting a shadow on Trump's fervent gestures. The tension escalated. Trump blustered again, "Your country survives on fear, on propaganda. Your elections are a farce." Medvedev's cold smile sharpened. "And you speak of freedom? Look at your past." He painted a vivid image of America's history, racial strife, suppressed dissent, captivating the audience's attention. As Medvedev laid bare America's political realities, the audience grew restless, balancing opinions and loyalties. He asserted, "You criticize our conflicts, yet forget your own history of overreach. Your interventions are part of your foreign policy." Trump's face flushed, his voice rising, but Medvedev continued to weave a narrative that resonated deeply with the spectators. "Our people deserve to shape their futures, not be puppets of power." The crowd buzzed with appreciation, some journalists forgetting their roles. Medvedev's final words ignited the room into a storm of cheering, leaving Trump momentarily speechless. As the clash unfolded, the complexities of power, history, and freedom swirled, the unexpected twists shaping opinions in real time. The stage was set for a battle not just of words, but of ideologies, with the audience witnessing a saga that would choose the next chapter of international dialogue. 5 minutes ago, at an international forum, something unexpected unfolded. Donald Trump, filled with anger, slammed his fist on the podium, accusing Russia of surviving solely on oil and gas. The audience was stunned, but then Dmitry Medvedev stood up, delivering a speech that erupted the room into applause, leaving Trump nearly speechless. What did Medvedev say that left the world in awe? Stay tuned for this gripping tale. Medvedev entered the hall calmly. Each step was deliberate, exuding the confidence of a seasoned fighter. The spotlight sliced through the air, casting shadows across anxious faces. Some spectators smiled, anticipating a verbal showdown, while others scanned for familiar faces, seeking comfort in the crowd. Dressed in a deep blue suit, he embodied poise, his collar crisp, his demeanor unyielding. Despite the years etched on his face, his sharp cheekbones and slight smile hinted at unyielding energy. He possessed the patience of a surgeon, prepared to strike precisely at the right moment. Across from him sat Donald Trump, filling the space with his bold presence. Clad in a striking red tie and his trademark golden hair glinting under the lights, he surged ahead, speaking before the microphone was even ready. "America has always been first," he proclaimed, his voice powerful enough to rattle microphones, first in economy, first in technology, and never to be outshone by anyone, least of all Russia. The crowd buzzed with mixed reactions, some clapped enthusiastically, while others murmured nervously. Yet Medvedev remained unfazed. His fingers only brushing the edges of the podium as he controlled the rhythm. After a heavy pause, he spoke softly but with an edge that cut through the tension. "But do you forget who first ventured into space? Who rebuilt its nation from the ruins of the worst war in history?" Trump leaned forward as if to pounce, exaggerating his gestures like a boxer throwing jabs in an empty ring. "Ah, Mr. Medvedev," he retorted theatrically, "I'm surprised to see you here. You usually hide behind your so-called delicate texts. What can you possibly bring to our face-to-face engagement?" Laughter erupted nervously around the hall, and Medvedev's stern gaze didn't waver. "You speak of posts," he cut in sharply. "But I speak of lives lost while your country profited from the war. We saved Europe by paying with our blood." The applause was thunderous, overtaking the laughter as the audience began to realize the gravity of his words. Even Trump took a moment to recenter himself, though his fingers tapped the table, visibly agitated. "Your nation has always violated international treaties," he shot back, emphasizing each word. "From the Cold War to the present. America stands for law." Medvedev's faint smirk revealed his disdain. "International law? Who bombed Yugoslavia without approval from the Security Council? Who created chaos in Iraq and Libya? Is that your definition of law?" The shouts in the room intensified, dividing loyalty. Some supported Medvedev, while others tried to drown out the applause for Trump. The atmosphere crackled like a taut string ready to snap. Just as Medvedev leaned in closer, he delivered quietly yet firmly, "The world is not a monopoly of America. Many nations no longer heed your commands. Perhaps it's premature to declare victory." Delegates from Asia nodded approvingly. Someone in the crowd shouted, "True." Trump flushed, trying to reclaim control. Yet Medvedev's conviction shone as he countered, "A future-oriented country does not fear its past. You fear acknowledging that the Second World War was won alongside many nations, that many technologies grew on the shoulders of others. You don't face the truth that your power relies on debt and weaponry, while we speak courageously of our history." The applause erupted again, and the hall transformed into a roaring storm of sound, with some cheering and others filming excitedly. Suddenly, within the chaos, Medvedev leaned back, a cool confidence pouring from him. He had laid forth his history, a man with the patience to wait for the right moment, while Trump's energy alone began to dwindle. What would happen next in this fierce verbal battle? As tension built, the clash of ideologies became increasingly palpable. Medvedev's final affirmations hung in the air, heavy with weight. The arena buzzed with anticipation, each side bracing for the forthcoming exchanges. Would this debate spiral into chaos, or could clarity emerge? The outcome remained uncertain, but one thing was clear: this monumental duel held much more in store. Trump stared into the abyss of slipping control, his facade cracking like thin ice underfoot. The duel wasn't his alone anymore. Medvedev had landed precise strikes, each one echoing through the hall, reshaping minds. But the debate raged on, with Russia's resilience shadowing America's bravado. Now, as the 20th century's promises unraveled, could Trump's bluster mask the emptiness beneath? Picture the tension in that grand forum, air thick with the scent of polished wood and stale coffee lingering from side conferences. Sweat trickled down Trump's forehead, leaving slick trails he impatiently wiped with his sleeve. His hands clenched the table's edge, fingers gouging into the mahogany grain, veins bulging like coiled snakes. No more masquerade of serenity, his gestures turned frantic, fists slicing the air like a boxer missing his mark, each swing a desperate bid for dominance. His voice escalated, booming with cracked echoes, a raw edge of strain creeping in as if straining against an invisible gag. You cling to excuses forever, he bellowed, the words erupting like gunfire, rattling water glasses nearby. You burrow into history's dusty tombs, evading the present. But gaze around, it's the 21st century now, and reality exposes everything. Russia? A ruthless invader. Russia? Cut off from the global fray. Russia? Feeble at its core. He hammered Russia repeatedly, each utterance a sledgehammer blow aimed at engraving it into every listener's psyche. His cheeks flushed crimson, forehead gleaming under harsh lights, droplets gathering like jewels before tumbling. Sensing the crowd's lukewarm nod shifting like a tide, he cranked up the volume further, drowning them in noise to reclaim the stage. Medvedev pivoted slowly, his poise a quiet storm, eyes steady as granite. The stark clash between Trump's frantic shouts and his measured murmur amplified the drama, every syllable from the American slashing the air, while Russia's response slid in smooth and unhurried. The 21st century, Medvedev echoed softly, the words rolling like distant thunder. Does it truly reveal the truth? It unveils how your vows from the 20th century faded into vapor, empty shells clattering hollowly. You pledged a globe free of alliances, yet erected fresh barricades taller and stricter. You vowed peace's reign, only to ignite conflicts fiercer than before. You championed liberty, but orchestrated a worldwide web of prying eyes, monitoring every breath. And now, you point fingers elsewhere, deflecting blame? The hall stirred with murmurs, a low buzz humming like bees in a hive, nodding heads bobbing rhythmically, cameras zooming in tight on furrowed brows and scribbling pens scratching furiously across notepads. Trump cut in sharply, words tumbling over Medvedev's before the sentence finished, impetuous as a child stealing the storyteller's turn. That's fabrication pure and simple, he snapped, the accusation stinging like a whip crack. America? The ultimate haven of promise. Anyone with grit and vision can claim triumph. But in your realm, desperation reigns under bureaucratic boot heels, your regime suffocates brilliance, grinding dreams to dust. Medvedev's lips curved faintly. Not in scorn but weary contemplation, as if shrugging off familiar barbs he'd dodged countless times. A land of boundless potential? For the wealthy elite, yes, their coffers overflowing like unchecked rivers. Yet, your academies demand fortunes barred to the masses, tuitions soaring like Everest peaks. Medical aid eludes millions, a luxury gated behind paywalls of gold. Your labor districts fester in shadows cast by gleaming towers, poverty masked by chrome facades shimmering falsely under neon glow. Was this the turning point, where America's facade trembled, exposing vulnerabilities long denied? With the global stage watching, what seismic revelation could shatter Trump's armor next? The sudden hush fell, anticipation crackling like lightning before a storm. On an international stage, a showdown unfolded that no one expected. Just 5 minutes ago, Donald Trump, visibly enraged, launched a furious attack on Russia, claiming the nation is solely dependent on oil and gas to sustain itself. But then, an unexpected figure rose to counter him, Dmitry Medvedev, whose words would astonish the audience and leave Trump nearly speechless. What could he possibly say to stun the world? Keep listening, as this story unravels in surprising ways. Medvedev entered the venue with purpose. His calm footsteps contrasted the swirling anticipation in the room. The spotlight sliced through the dim atmosphere, illuminating expectant faces. Some wore smiles, ready for a verbal duel, others scanned for familiar faces, trying to anchor themselves in the crowd. He donned a deep blue suit that absorbed the light, radiating a quiet confidence. His expression was seasoned, with a sharp jawline and an ironic lift to his lips, embodying an attitude of a veteran unafraid of confrontation. Across from him, Trump sat, larger than life in a red leather chair, exuding a boisterous energy amplified by his dramatic gestures. "I'm surprised to see you here," Trump boomed, his eyes glinting with impatience. "Usually, you hide behind your posts and flowery words." Laughter rippled through the crowd. Medvedev, unfazed, leaned slightly forward, his gaze piercing. "You talk about posts, but let's discuss lives," he shot back. "While your companies profited from arms sales, we sacrificed millions to save Europe." His voice, though calm, resonated with unyielding strength. The room quieted. Captivated by what he said next, bombarding Trump with historical reckoning. Yet the tension grew as Trump, determined not to falter, shot back. "Your country has continuously violated international agreements," he blurted, pushing the narrative that America was the arbiter of law and order. Medvedev's lips curled slightly, the hint of a smirk playing as he retorted. And who bombed Yugoslavia without UN approval? Look at Iraq and Libya, is that your definition of law? Cheers erupted as the audience buzzed with divided loyalty. As voices clashed, Medvedev seized the moment to delve deeper. America can label itself the first, but history remembers the nation that crushed fascism. Small breaths of silence hung thick in the air after his words, and applause broke out, loud and unyielding. The audience felt the battle lines drawn, the fight was only beginning. Medvedev leaned back, exuding patience and strategy, while Trump's intensity surged dangerously close to desperation. The air crackled with anticipation as he prepared his next blow. Suddenly, the discussion shifted. Your country thrives on oil and gas, Trump exclaimed, launching another all-out assault. You rely on resources while America leads in technology, medicine, and freedom. Medvedev, equipped with facts, took a moment to collect his thoughts. You speak of dependence, yet who purchased our oil and gas for decades to fuel your own growth? Your first communications satellite launched from our soil. Now, the audience collectively gasped, the reality of this exchange dawning on them. Medvedev continued. Your universities cater to the wealthy. Millions lack basic healthcare, and your cities hide poverty behind skyscraper facades. This struck a chord, dividing applause between Trump and Medvedev as the dialogue escalated. In perfect rhythm, Trump shot back, you oppress minorities. Your LGBTQ rights are non-existent. But Medvedev remained steadfast, his demeanor steady. Yes, life is difficult in Russia. Yet, we build a system that provides free education and healthcare for those in need. We don't impose our morals, but we refuse to accept foreign propaganda. The audience buzzed with reactions, some rallying to Medvedev's side while others rallied for Trump. As the arguments twisted, Trump accused, you've ignited war in Europe. Applause surged for Trump but faded under Medvedev's calm rebuttal. Ukraine is a tragedy, not simply a one-sided war. There are many culprits here, not just one. With each flicker of tension and every sharp retort, the debate escalated into a visceral clash. The stakes were high, and as words became weapons, it was clear that facts would outweigh volume. Each accusation propelled them further into a duel of ideals as the audience leaned in, absorbing every thrust and parry. The fight for narratives raged on, with strategic pauses hanging in the air like a fine-tuned symphony awaiting its climax. The real question lingered, who would emerge victorious in this battleground of rhetoric? In a striking turn of events at a recent international forum, a heated confrontation unfolded between two powerful figures, Donald Trump and Dmitry Medvedev. The tension in the air was palpable as discussion shifted, revealing deeply rooted conflicts between nations. Both men stood as representatives of their countries and ideologies, engaging in a verbal duel that captivated the audience. Suddenly, a significant phrase like the international order sparked a chorus of cheers, resounding from the crowd. Trump seized the moment, his voice rising in volume and his gestures becoming grander, while Medvedev remained calm and composed, delivering his points with the precision of a seasoned lecturer. The topic turned to the ongoing tragedy in Ukraine, a nation caught in a web of blame from multiple sides. Medvedev called the audience to question the origins of this conflict. Who instigated it, he demanded, his voice steady amidst the swelling emotions in the room. His words cut through the noise, prompting silence even among those who had previously supported Trump's remarks. With unwavering confidence, he continued, Russia is merely defending its interests, security, and its people, a right cemented within the United Nations Charter. As he spoke, the audience began to reflect on the parallels in how nations advocate for their interests. The tension escalated as Medvedev confronted the hypocrisy of American actions. While you label our actions as aggression, he stated, you defend your own under the guise of protection. The atmosphere crackled with energy as applause erupted from those who resonated with his words, especially representatives from countries that have felt the impact of U.S. interventions. Trump, visibly frustrated, attempted to regain control, accusing Russia of undermining international organizations. But Medvedev sharply retorted, you have withdrawn from international agreements at will, dismantling the very framework you so readily signed. His gaze hardened, and he emphasized, international law is not merely paper to be discarded when it suits you, it carries real consequences. The audience reacted, a powerful cheer echoing back in support of Medvedev's points, with some delegates nodding and raising their hands in solidarity. Yet Trump's attempts to respond barely pierced the raucous applause. As the weight of the moment settled in, Medvedev returned to his seat, having effectively turned the tide of this clash into a pivotal moment. The exchange transformed from a simple debate into a profound reckoning of national responsibilities and conflicts. What remains is the question of power: who really maintains the integrity of international relations? As the roar of applause reverberated, it became increasingly clear that this confrontation was just the beginning of an ongoing discourse. Would the arena calm, or would tensions rise again? Each side prepared for what lay ahead, knowing the battle for narrative supremacy was far from over. Previously, we saw how Russia embraces its past, the heavy cost it paid, millions of lives lost beyond its borders. It does not hide from history but carries it as wisdom, not shame. The room fell silent, cameras paused as if afraid to disturb this gravity. Dmitry Medvedev stepped forward, his voice gaining strength. Now, Medvedev shattered the silence with a challenge that cut through the tension. You say the USSR equals bloodshed and tyranny, he began, his tone calm yet resolute. But it was the Soviet Union that stopped fascism. Soviet soldiers reached Berlin. Our peoples freed dozens of nations. 27 million lives lost, that's not a statistic. It's every family shattered, every street haunted, every city scarred. America lost hundreds of thousands in that war, we lost tens of millions. If peace exists today, it is because we paid that dreadful price. Wave after wave of applause filled the hall, yet Medvedev raised his hand to still the echoing cheers. His next words were sharper, his gaze burning through the room. You claim America builds the world's peace, but your peace is aircraft carriers and sanctions. Your alliances breed dependency, your order plunges the Middle East, Africa, the Balkans into chaos. You have toppled more states than you have built. This is not creation, it is conquest. The atmosphere shifted. His voice grew firmer, no longer just addressing Trump but the entire assembly. International law is no slogan, it is the United Nations Charter, written after devastation. It states clearly, no nation shall impose its will on another. Yet America twists this, masking domination as freedom. Russia stands for principle, equality, sovereignty, the right of every nation to shape its destiny. Approval rippled through the chamber, voices rose in agreement. Delegates rose, some waving, others nodding. Trump's attempts to speak were drowned out, his face flushing with anger. Lips moved, but microphones ignored him. Medvedev lifted his palm again. Silence returned, heavy and compelling. America may be first in ratings, headlines, and history books. But in the memory of peoples, the true first is the country that shattered fascism's backbone, raised a broken world, and opened the gateway to space. That country was the Soviet Union. Its legacy now belongs to Russia. Thunderous applause erupted, shaking the room like a storm breaking. Standing ovations, whistles, cries of support filled the air. Cameras flashed wildly. The atmosphere resembled a courtroom where the verdict was already reached, and the judgment was clear. What happens next? Can Trump's fury reclaim control, or has the tide turned in this historic confrontation? Stay tuned to witness the battle where facts, pride, and power collide. Imagine for a second, what if history's biggest rivalry exploded in a single room, turning words into weapons? Just 5 minutes earlier, at a global summit no one could predict, Donald Trump pounded the table in fury, roaring that Russia survives only on oil and gas pipelines. But Dmitry Medvedev rose calmly, his words slashing through the air like lightning, igniting the crowd in thunderous cheers. Trump stammered, almost speechless. What shocking truth did Medvedev unleash? Stay tuned for this epic clash of titans, you won't believe the humiliation and twists that followed. Now, picture the scene alive again. The air thick with tension, the sharp scent of polished wood and sweat-drenched suits lingering like a storm's buildup. Flashback to 1945, the crackle of gunfire fading into a distant echo, the bitter chill of victories cost on skin raw from ruin, the metallic tang of blood in the air as cities rose from ash, Russia turning the impossible to possible. That legacy pulsed through Medvedev now, steeling him against this battle. A shocking revelation hit me hard. Did you know Russia's stand against fascism alone saves millions, rebuilding a world without a single foreign dime? It burns, doesn't it? As applause tore through the hall, shattering silence, Trump slumped in his chair, eyes hollow, cheeks flushed in defeat. He'd barked accusations, hurled insults, raged like a cornered beast, but each jab faded against Medvedev's arsenal of facts and iron resolve. The crowd shifted, no longer his domain, now a buzzing hive of judgment. Medvedev eased back, posture unwavering. A quiet force rippling beneath calm features. This wasn't banter, it evolved into an emblem of truth-conquering roar. Walls hummed with energy, cameras flashing wildly, capturing close-ups of stunned faces. Some clapped until palms ached, others whispered heated debates, but the tide had turned irreversibly. Trump lurched up, tie crooked, hair matted with nervous sheen, eyes flashing defiance like embers refusing to die. He lunged at the mic, bellowing, "Don't believe him. Lies everywhere. Russia breeds corruption, gangs, tyrants." His fists drummed the wood, rattling the room. Murmurs swelled, a mix of disbelief and dark amusement rippling through. Should they laugh or lash out? Delegates grinned slyly, heads shaking in subtle scorn. Medvedev stood slow, deliberate, gaze scanning Trump then the audience. His tone even, words hammer-sharp, driving home relentlessly. Corruption plagues us, we admit it openly. Ask yourselves, though, who pioneered lobbying empires, selling laws to corporations and kings? That isn't crime hidden behind fine talk, is it? He paused, leaning in. And America, the finger-pointer, built havens for trillions to vanish unseen. Is that clean? Rhetorical weight hung heavy, sense of indictment sharp. Trump fumed, colors draining, world crumbling. Medvedev pressed on, facts building like rain on parched earth. The hall rigged like a coliseum, every clash etching scars. Unexpectedly, a twist, whispers became roars. What humiliation awaited next? Would Trump's blaze extinguish entirely? Stay gripped, twists deepen. Who lets billions vanish right before taxpayers' eyes? Not Russia, but America. The room surged with energy, thunderous, rhythmic applause echoed from every corner. Yet Trump roared back, trying to drown out the noise. But we have freedom, he exclaimed. Our people can say whatever they think. Over there? Prisons, propaganda, and fear rule. Suddenly, Medvedev raised his hand. The crowd fell silent, as if obeying a single command. Freedom, he repeated slowly, weighing every syllable. A pretty banner, but what hides behind it? Julian Assange behind bars. Edward Snowden in exile. Thousands of journalists you've hunted down for telling the truth. His eyes scanned the hall, steady and resolute. Is that your idea of freedom? No, it's fear hiding from reality. He took a deep breath, his voice steel beneath calmness. Russia does not hide its flaws. We don't pretend to be a shining city on a hill. We are a nation forged in war, wreckage, starvation, and we endured. That is true freedom. Rising up when the world expects you to fall. The applause swelled, growing longer, louder. Standing ovations erupted. Delegations from Asia and Africa chanted almost in unison. Reporters captured every word, sensing history unfolding. Trump's face twisted, frustration bubbling into a harsh whisper. You lie. Your story is finished. No one believes you. Russia has lost. Medvedev's gaze cut like ice. Lost, he repeated, cold and firm, an echo of judgment. The nation that first reached space. The nation that saved the world from fascism. The nation that rose from ruins twice in 1 century. The nation still standing today. Despite your sanctions, your blockades, your threats. Is that defeat? No, it's resilience. He leaned forward slightly, voice sharpening its edge. America measures everything in money and ratings. But history preserves not wealth, but valor. The Soviet Union performed that valor in the 20th century. Russia carries its legacy today. A storm erupted, a thunderclap of applause, shouting, and camera flashes. Entire rows leaped to their feet. Trump tried to shout louder, but his words were swallowed by the crowd's thunder. Medvedev lifted his hand, like a conductor commanding silence once more. The room held its breath, waiting for what came next. In the heat of the debate, Trump's voice began to wane, shrouded in a growing despair that echoed like a fading echo in an empty cavern. It felt as if he himself sensed the loss of his initial fire, a once blazing roar now dimming to embers. Dmitry Medvedev rose slowly, and the hall hushed instantly, air thickening with anticipation, as if every shadow knew the final strike was looming. His voice emerged steady, laced with unyielding resolve, like granite forged in relentless storms. What if one man's words could shatter empires? Shocking revelations unfolded in that international arena just minutes ago. Donald Trump, fists pounding like thunder, accusing Russia of clinging to oil and gas like lifelines in a drowning economy. But Dmitry Medvedev's rebuttal ignited the crowd, rendering Trump speechless, his boasts crumbling under relentless truth. The world froze, and you're about to witness why. What hidden blows did Medvedev land that humiliated the powerful and flipped the script? Medvedev's gaze swept the room, eyes sharp as polished swords. Mr. Trump, he said softly, syllables slicing through tension. You rant about the future, shouting triumphs. But can a future be forged on deceit? Silence lingered, heavy and suffocating, scents of polished wood and nervous sweat mingling in the air. A future can't rise from wars. Nor from fear's icy grip. The crowd leaned forward, breaths shallow, as he paused, amplifying the tremor in their hearts. America claims to be freedom's beacon. Yet its hands are stained crimson. Whispers rippled, fabric rustling like wine through dry leaves. Vietnam. Yugoslavia. Iraq. Libya. Syria. Each name dropped like a hammer, echoing in chests. You vowed liberty each time. And left shattered cities and countless graves. Is this freedom? Or colonialism reborn? A voice cried out from the throng, raw and urgent. True. Applause erupted, surging like a tidal wave, palms slapping flesh in fervent rhythm. Medvedev pressed on, tone unyielding, evoking the tactile chill of forgotten ruins. Russia never aimed to command the globe. We guarded our own. We shielded allies. We sacrificed millions to crush fascism. That legacy weighs heavy, like chains on our souls. We bear war's true toll. You know only profits from oil and market swings. Rhythmical pounding on tables underscored the disdain, a sensory drumbeat of frustration. Trump lunged to interrupt, face flushed, but the hall tuned him out, gazes locked on Medvedev. Falsehood. We defend global peace. Yet words dissolved in indifference. Without us, Europe would have crumbled. Medvedev countered calmly, voice a steady anchor. Europe in ruins? If not for the Red Army, Berlin's gates stayed closed. Without Soviet blood, Paris' liberation lingered. America joined late, when victory gleamed clear. The Soviets fought from day one. History's pages resist erasure. The crowd ignited, cameras flashing like lightning storms, seats creaking as people surged upright, energy electric and uncontainable. Medvedev raised a hand, signaling calm, the air buzzing. America hails itself as tomorrow's pioneer. Yet tomorrow transcends wealth and gadgetry. It's memory. A nation forgetting its past is doomed to echo old blunders. Russia remembers war's agony, famine's bite, devastation's howl. That's why we declare no edifice of peace on one nation's edicts. The world must balance, truly equal. Applause thundered anew, a crescendo mimicking rolling thunder, vibrating through bones. Trump yelled, losing grip, his shouts drowned in the roar, lies. America reigns supreme. Voices clashed, turning the forum into a battlefield of ideas, where humiliation sting and an unforeseen reversal left everyone gasping. But what's next as tensions escalate? Will Medvedev unveil the ultimate twist that silences the storm? In a stunning showdown that unfolded just 5 minutes ago at an international forum, an unexpected confrontation between Donald Trump and Dmitry Medvedev sent shockwaves through the room. As Trump slammed his fist down, accusing Russia of thriving solely on oil and gas, Medvedev made a statement so powerful that it left the audience in stunned silence. What could possibly have been said to spark such a reaction? Stay with us as we unravel this gripping tale, filled with tension and unexpected twists. As the debate began, Medvedev entered the spotlight with a calm yet assertive demeanor. His structured confidence spoke volumes, and even the hum of the audience stilled as they awaited the clash. Dressed in a deep blue suit, he commanded respect, though he was not without a hint of irony in his expression. The audience held their breath, half expecting a verbal duel the likes of which had never been seen before. Across from him, Trump dominated the stage with his broad shoulders and flamboyant presence. He wasted no time in filling the space with his booming voice, proclaiming America's supremacy in technology and economy. But Medvedev, unflinching, took a moment before responding, a tactic that only intensified the room's anticipation. When he spoke, every word cut through the tension like a knife. He reminded everyone who led the way into space and who resurrected a nation from the ashes of war, all without foreign reliance. The applause began as a hesitant ripple amidst rising tension, embodying an audience caught in a whirlwind of conflicting beliefs. Trump's eyes narrowed in disbelief, and he rushed to counter with tendentious claims about Russia's violations of international law. But Medvedev, with a serpent-like confidence, twisted the narrative back, highlighting the hypocrisy of American actions around the globe. With each exchange, the atmosphere grew tight, electric with fervor. Medvedev's rebuttals revealed not just facts but a deep understanding of history that resonated with many. He recalled the sacrifices made for nations to forge their paths, and as he cited them with fervent clarity, the applause grew thunderous, a hurricane of approval echoing through the hall. But just when victory seemed secure, Trump lashed out, his frustration now boiling over into desperation. His voice blared louder as he insisted on America remaining number one, projecting power even as it rang hollow against the weight of Medvedev's truths. His desperate grasp for dominance only invited mockery from a now skeptical audience. In a moment of stark clarity, Medvedev delivered his closing argument: America may consider itself first on paper, but history remembers those who fought against tyranny, bringing liberation to the masses. The fervor in the arena seemed palpable, akin to a rhythmic heartbeat resonating with the spirit of the crowd, as the gavel of history prepared to slam down. Amidst raucous applause, it became clear, the duel was over, and Medvedev had triumphed, not just over Trump but in the hearts and minds of those who watched. The audience transformed, rising to their feet, applause crashing like waves upon the shore, cars honking in jubilation outside, and cameras flashing into the night, solidifying a moment forever etched in time. And yet, beneath the surface, Trump was simmering, his face flushed with a mix of indignation and denial. "You don't understand," he thundered, venom lacing his words, accused Russia of being a realm of oppressors. In this moment of rage, he seemed to lose the battle before it had reached its conclusion as the crowd met his assertions with laughter, dismissing him as a fading echo. The question hung in the air: who truly holds the power in this conflict? As the arena buzzed with renewed energy, it was clear, this was just the beginning. Would Trump retaliate in any meaningful way, or would he sink further into the depths of ridicule? As tensions blazed and lines were drawn, the saga was far from over. In the heat of the debate, Trump's defiant claims echoed through the hall. He insisted Russia was doomed to eternal second place, lagging behind America's unmatched skills in triumph. But instead of applause, an unsettling chuckle rippled from the crowd, piercing like a sharp jab, leaving him exposed and scorned. Ever wondered how a single moment of deliberate silence could shatter a bully's grip on the stage? Can quiet strength really defeat shouts of arrogance? Picture this: the air thick with the scent of polished wood and sweat, cameras clicking like distant gunfire, as Trump fumbles, his heavy breaths betraying sheer desperation. The audience's mocking laughter cut deeper than any insult. It wasn't loud. It wasn't theatrical. It hummed softly, yet sliced through the tension like a cold blade. Delegates exchanged uneasy glances, their faces twisting in quiet disbelief. Hands fidgeted on notebooks, the scratch of fabric against seats the only sound amid the chill. Medvedev rose slowly, his posture unbreakable. His expression stayed calm, almost stone-like. He paused. Let the laughter fade into awkward echoes. Then, his voice emerged, deep, steady, pulling from the hall's hidden memories rather than the microphone. No amplification needed for impact. "Mr. Trump," he said, pausing. "Winning isn't about declaring victory with a roar. It's about staying silent, so your actions can shout louder." He stepped closer. Not toward his rival. Toward the people. Toward history itself. The Soviet Union didn't boast of its wins. It proved them. By planting the flag atop the Reichstag. By sending Gagarin soaring into the stars. By resurrecting a nation from war's ashes. Russia doesn't yell about its power. It endures. It stands firm. Unwavering. Silence gripped the room. Cameras whirred faintly, capturing every syllable. Journalists froze, fingers hovering over keys, as the stale air seemed to thicken. And America? Medvedev pressed on, his words measured. Hype is about tomorrow. A future propped on endless debts. On fleeting dreams. On endless conflicts. Russia honors the past. Only those remembering yesterday build today. And gaze ahead. Fearless. He lifted one hand. Signaling closure. We don't seek to rule the world. But know this, the planet belongs to no single empire. America, understand it soon. Or risk becoming debris in the wreckage of time. His verdict hung like thunder, unexploded. The hall plunged into hush. Dense as humid fog before a downpour. Then, eruption. Applause boomed. Delegates surged to their feet. Rows stood as one, hands meeting in thunderous rhythm. Flags waved wildly. Voices cried bravo. The metallic tang of excitement filled nostrils, chairs scraping against floors in frantic symphony. Trump slumped back. Features contorted by fury. By exhaustion. Sweat beading on his brow, fabric clinging damply to his skin. He mouthed words. But the microphone's whine drowned in the roar. His attempts futile. Like whispers in a gale. Medvedev remained poised. No grin. No victory flare. Just resolute presence. The crowd's energy wasn't his. It belonged to the truth unleashed. A stunning shift in power, leaving one man humbled. And the world questioning every assumption. Who else has felt the sting of forgotten legacies? Will Trump's arrogance lead to his downfall? Stay tuned for the jaw-dropping aftermath that rewrote the rules. The tactile thrill of gloves dropping in a silent war. The echo of truths too heavy to ignore. What if memory itself is the ultimate weapon? His face twisted in anger and fatigue, Donald Trump struggled to speak, but the crowd had drowned him out. Their applause was a wave, roaring and unyielding, leaving him no hope of reclaiming their attention. Dmitry Medvedev stood calmly amid the tempest, showing no signs of triumph or celebration. He merely tilted his head slightly, as if acknowledging that he had done what was necessary. This moment was stripped of embellishments. The applause crescendoed, becoming a force that belonged not to either debater but to history itself. It marked the conclusion of a duel that had evolved from a disagreement between two men into a clash of ideologies. One camp was built on shouting, slogans, and fear, while the other rested on memory, facts, and conviction. Everyone understood the significance. Victory had not only been claimed by Russia today, but by history itself. The applause roared like a stormy sea. Delegates rose, clapping until their hands ached. Some cheered vocally, while others remained silently with fists clenched over their hearts. In that cacophony, everything blended, the flashes of cameras, the crackling of microphones, and even the breaths of the participants themselves. Trump sat with his head bowed, tension radiating through his shoulders as his lips moved silently, as if struggling to find words that wouldn't come. The audience no longer listened. He had become a relic of the past, a loud but hollow echo. In a final effort, he rose, reached for the microphone, and shouted, "America will still be first. No one can defeat us. No one." But his words dissolved in the clamor. Even the camera operators did not switch their focus, all lenses fixated on Medvedev. Rising with a calm that suggested no effort or emotion was needed, he awaited the crowd's applause to fade. Silence gradually fell over the hall, without shouts or calls. It was as if the attendees collectively understood that the moment of resolution had arrived. Medvedev's gaze swept over the audience. His expression was steady, yet it carried a depth unattainable by mere performance. He began to speak slowly, each word carved intentionally, like stone. Today, you have heard screams and accusations. You have witnessed the attempt for volume to overshadow truth. But history teaches us that cries are forgotten, while truth remains. He stepped forward, his voice resonated steadily, infused with a power that overshadowed any shout. The tension in the room thickened, a palpable uncertainty about what would come next, hanging in the air like an unresolved chord. What would be the final blow in this epic clash of titans? Earlier, the tension had risen to a boiling point. Loud accusations clashed with cold truths. Voices tried to overpower facts, but history does not forget. Calm and unwavering, the figure stepped forward. His voice carried a quiet strength that overshadowed every shout. Now, the discussion took a turn that shocked everyone. America boasts of leadership, yet real leadership is not about commanding, it's about being heard and respected. America pushes, Russia persuades. Tonight, the crowd witnessed a truth stronger than fear. Applause erupted again, but the speaker raised his hand, silencing the room with a commanding gesture. He spoke with the voice of a survivor. Russia has endured wars, revolutions, sanctions, blockades. Everything designed to break us only forged our will. Our strength lies in our memory. The words hung like an ancient bell tolling across time. We remember that freedom comes at a heavy price. We remember how a nation can rise from ashes. We remember that the world cannot be ruled by tyranny. The audience fell silent, hanging on every word. He said, America fears admitting its past. It fears Hiroshima and Nagasaki's shadows. It fears chains and a fractured nation. It fears its debts and its mistakes. In stark contrast, Russia does not flinch. We accept our history, no matter how difficult, because only by embracing the past can we move forward. A pregnant pause fell over the room. It felt as if the air itself had thickened, breaths caught mid-exhale. Today, we did more than argue, he declared. We proved the future belongs to those who remember. Russia does not chase the spotlight. Russia strives for honesty with itself. That is a power unbreakable. He lifted his gaze, as if addressing both the assembly and millions watching from distant corners of the world. Let America speak of leadership, we will speak of equality. Let America celebrate victories, we will celebrate memory. Let America build walls, we will build bridges. The final words struck like thunder. Because Russia is not a slogan. Russia is destiny, and destiny cannot be shouted down. The hall erupted. Standing ovations thundered through the space, crowds rose, their applause shaking cameras, rattling microphones. Shouts echoed, electric and raw. The storm of praise swept away all uncertainty, leaving only undeniable strength. Across the room, the opposing figure sank into his seat, shoulders slumped. Teeth clenched, hands trembled. The realization was clear, he had lost more than this debate, he had lost the very stage itself. His words dissolved into the air, fading like smoke in the wind. The audience erupted in applause, the room vibrating with excitement. Trump sat slumped, his fingers clenched tightly. He felt the weight of defeat, not just in the debate, but in the very arena itself. His words vanished into the air, like smoke dissipating into nothingness. Amidst this whirlwind, Medvedev stood resolute, offering a slight nod to the crowd. No trace of triumph graced his expression, instead, there was the quiet confidence of a man whose words had become part of a larger narrative. The duel had reached its climax. Trump's assertions rang out, loud yet hollow, while Medvedev maintained his composure, unwavering. In the end, it wasn't just Russia that emerged victorious, it was the very history that chose to echo the truth. The atmosphere crackled with electricity. The key question lingered, who truly speaks louder? What truth resonates beyond mere volume? As the applause surged, it felt like a storm washing away the fragile and leaving only the profound. This confrontation left its mark. Each voice echoed with significance. What part of this debate struck you the most? What deeper understanding did you draw from this clash of ideologies? Your story is important. Share it, and perhaps that will become the next moment of glory. As the applause thundered, drowning Trump's desperate words, a dramatic shift unfolded. The former president strained against the uproar, his face twisting in frustration, while Medvedev leaned back, exuding calm control. This pivotal exchange transformed their clash from mere talk into a raw battle of ideologies, galvanizing the audience. Can a single man's quiet resolve shatter the myths of empire, revealing America's darkest shadows hiding behind its gleaming facade? Picture the electric hum of anticipation in that grand hall, the faint scent of polished wood mingling with nervous sweat, and the palpable tremor in the air as if thunder loomed. What truths lie buried under gilded monuments, waiting to ignite lightning strikes from the past? The showdown had morphed into an emblem of colliding ideologies, where clashing forces exposed raw human flaws. Spectators grasped more clearly now who truly wielded authority, whose narrative stirred souls deeper, and whose rhetoric pierced with unyielding power. Trump lurked like a beast trapped in a cage, his features flushing crimson, a vein pulsing visibly on his neck, beads of sweat glistening on his brow. Lips pinched into a razor-thin grimace, fists clenched so tightly that knuckles whitened against the crimson leather armrests, trembling not from dread but from boiling rage. He sensed the crowd slipping away, the roar of ovations swelling louder for his rival, an agony he couldn't endure. All his life, he'd commanded every stage, bending it to his will. In a sudden lunge forward, he bellowed, words erupting like hammer blows on an anvil. Medvedev. You're nothing. The syllables echoed harshly, reverberating off marble walls. A mere phantom from bygone eras. Your own people ignore you. The globe overlooks you. You're a puppet of a crumbling regime, driven by a dying machine. Russia? It's corroded remnants of the Soviet wreck, and everyone sees it. His outburst sparked murmurs and snickers throughout the room, the sound like whispered secrets in a storm. Someone in the back rows chuckled outright, recognizing it as a howl of hopelessness, not a reasoned plea. Yet Trump surged ahead, louder still, oblivious or feigning blindness. America leads. It shapes the future. You only tear it down. Your saga drips with carnage and oppression. Why does fury blind when facts refuse to yield? Feel the cool draft from air vents brushing skin, carrying the metallic tang of fear. Medvedev rose slowly from his seat, his motions deliberate, infused with icy precision, as if poised to deliver the final strike. He straightened, locking eyes with Trump, then sweeping his gaze across the stunned assembly. His tone emerged low, almost a murmur, but each syllable carried the gravity of steel, outweighing any shout. Mr. Trump, scream as much as you wish. Loudness masks no truth. He lingered in silence, a pause heavy with unspoken might. You label Russia a relic of yesterday, yet yesterday forms our roots. And those who sever their foundation end up hollow. America dreads its history, haunted by atomic blasts over Japanese soil, the chains of enslavement, a fractured nation, and countless casualties beyond its shores, millions lost to foreign sands. Russia embraces its past. We cherish it, learn from it, carry it as wisdom, not shame. The hall fell hushed, stillness gripping even the cameras, as if they dared not shatter this charged instant. Medvedev advanced a step, his voice swelling with crescendo, building toward an undeniable crescendo. In the heated atmosphere of a grand conference, two titans of politics stand poised for a battle of words. Just moments ago, the audience was captivated by Donald Trump, who passionately claimed, America has always been first, branding Russia as dependent on oil and gas. The room buzzed with tension as Dmitry Medvedev entered, embodying calm confidence, ready to counter the storm brewing from across the table. As the crowd quieted, Medvedev's composure was palpable. In his deep voice, he challenged, reminding everyone of Russia's history and achievements. You forget who was the first in space, he said sharply, each word deliberate, cutting through the air. With Trump's bombastic assertions rattling the crowd, Medvedev's calculated approach only intensified the suspense. When Medvedev boldly stated, while your companies profited from arms sales, we sacrificed lives to save Europe, uneasy murmurs rippled through the audience. The tension escalated, and the electric atmosphere ignited with applause. Yet Trump, unyielding, leaned in, fueled by the crowd's reaction, claiming, your country has always violated international treaties. He ignited a flame of cheer amid growing dissent. What about your journalists? Medvedev shot back, invoking the specter of Edward Snowden's truths. The audience erupted into chaos, friends cheering and foes jeering. Who truly lacks freedom of speech, he asked, the question hanging in the air like a heavy sigh. This debate transformed the conference from a dull dialogue to a gladiatorial combat scene, where facts and emotions clashed fiercely, shaking the very foundation of their beliefs. Trump, overtaken by fervor, waved his hands, commanding silence. You speak of the war against fascism, he said, voice grave, but built an iron curtain afterward. The room grew silent, tension thick enough to slice with a knife. Medvedev's voice rose, firm and resonant, declaring, your bombs turned Hiroshima and Nagasaki into memories of devastation. Was that freedom? His words resonated. The audience, previously riled up, fell into an unnerving stillness, the weight of history pressing down like a palpable force. The stakes were high. Medvedev stood tall, projecting steel resolve as he recounted the USSR's contributions after the war, rebuilding nations, fostering education. We brought knowledge, not aircraft carriers, he emphasized, challenging perceptions while the crowd teetered between fervor and silence, reflecting on the profound impact of their exchanges. Would this debate reshape their national narratives? Would history find a new echo in these fiery exchanges? The air crackled with anticipation as both leaders prepared for what lay ahead, truths yet unveiled, revelations waiting to burst forth. In a stunning turn of events just 5 minutes ago at an international forum, Donald Trump erupted in a fit of anger, accusing Russia of solely relying on oil and gas. As the crowd sat in shock, Dmitry Medvedev stood up, delivering a response that left Trump momentarily speechless and the audience erupting into applause. What could Medvedev have said that captured everyone's attention? Stay tuned to discover this riveting story that unravels layers of political tension and unexpected exchanges. Medvedev entered the hall with a calm confidence. His steps were unhurried, yet purposeful, as the spotlight bathed him in a soft glow, casting shadows that danced across the audience's faces. Some attendees grinned, anticipating a verbal clash, while others scanned the room for familiar faces, seeking solidarity. Dressed in a nearly matte navy suit with a crisp white collar, Medvedev appeared composed, his not-so-young face etched with lines that hinted at both wisdom and resilience. He met Trump, who filled the room with his presence, his wide shoulders and vibrant tie drawing attention as he spoke before being introduced, his hair aglow under the lights. America has always led in economy and freedom, Trump declared, his voice a clarion call of national pride. The crowd buzzed with murmurs, but Medvedev remained unshaken, lightly resting his fingers on the arm of his chair, listening intently. After a longer than usual pause, he began. But do you forget who was first in space, who lifted a nation from devastation after a grisly war? His voice was steady and sharp, cutting through the tension. Trump leaned in, attempting to dominate, saying, "Oh, Mr. Medvedev, I'm surprised to see you here. Usually, you hide behind your posts and complex texts. What can you surprise me with in person?" Laughter rippled through the audience, but Medvedev raised his chin slightly, locking eyes with Trump. "You speak of posts, but I speak of lives," he shot back, his voice steady. "While your corporations profited from weapon sales, we lost millions just to save Europe." His declaration echoed like a tolling bell. The atmosphere shifted as the audience quieted, applause initially hesitant but gradually swelling in volume. Medvedev's poised demeanor contrasted sharply with Trump's growing agitation. "Your country has always violated international agreements," Trump countered, emphasizing always, with fervor. Medvedev smirked, acknowledging the irony. "International law, Mr. Trump, is a double-edged sword. Who bombed Yugoslavia without the UN's blessing? And your country weaponized chaos in Iraq and Libya." The room vibrated with energy as cheers erupted for both sides, creating a tangled mix of support. "America can only claim the top spot on paper," Medvedev continued, advancing his analysis with precision. "But in the hearts of nations, we'll be remembered for defeating fascism." Just then, applause thundered around the room, invigorating the debate. While Trump's frustration simmered, he attempted to regain control over the narrative. "Your country is built on oil and gas," he exclaimed, yet exhaustion crept into his voice. "America created the internet. Meanwhile, Russia languishes." The crowd's reactions were polarized. But Medvedev maintained his calculated calm, leaning slightly forward. "And who bought our oil to fuel its cities? History shows your dependency on us." As the debate unfolded, tension mounted. Both leaders were unyielding, each trying to assert dominance through facts and fiery exchanges. Medvedev's cool measured tone stood in stark contrast to Trump's increasingly frantic rebuttals. The stakes were high, and both pursued victory, yet, only time would reveal the true victor in this high-stakes clash of titans. With the audience engaged in the unfolding drama, the next moments promised more than just words. They forecast a battle not just of wits, but of the very essence of their nation's identities and legacies. What would emerge from this fiery exchange? Would clarity finally dawn, or would the battle only intensify? More surprises awaited, as the room buzzed with the anticipation of what was to come. Once upon a recent time, the world unexpectedly held its breath in a grand hall filled with dignitaries. Just moments ago, Donald Trump had exploded with anger, accusing Russia of relying solely on oil and gas. But then Dmitry Medvedev rose to speak, delivering words so powerful that the audience erupted in applause, leaving Trump momentarily speechless. What could Medvedev have said to captivate the entire room? Stick around, and you'll be astonished. Medvedev strolled onto the stage with an air of quiet confidence. His deep blue suit was almost matte, contrasting sharply against the sparkling lights that softened the faces in the crowd. Anticipation crackled in the air, some attendees exchanged knowing glances while others held their breath, eager for the forthcoming clash of ideas. With a serene demeanor, Medvedev regarded Trump, who dominated the opposite end of the stage in a brilliant red tie, his presence filling the space like a pop star in the spotlight. Trump's voice boomed, proclaiming America's supremacy, claiming the country was always first, in economy, in technology, in freedom. As the audience murmured, Medvedev remained still, his fingers barely brushing against the armrest of his chair. After a notably lengthy pause, he finally spoke, his voice low but edged with steel. "You forget," he began, "who was the first in space, who rebuilt a nation from chaos, who established a society where workers and scientists shared equal footing." Each word landed with precision, silencing the room. Trump leaned forward, an air of disbelief on his face. "Ah, Mr. Medvedev. I expected more than this empty rhetoric. You're typically hiding behind your crafted texts. What could you possibly reveal here?" Laughter erupted nervously from the crowd, but Medvedev's gaze hardened. "You speak of posts while I speak of lives," he shot back. "While your companies profited from arms sales, we lost millions, fighting to save Europe." The punch landed with such resonance that it drew applause from sections of the audience as they exchanged stunned looks. But the battle was far from over. Trump, undeterred, gripped the podium, his voice projecting strength. "Your country has always violated international treaties. You are destroyers of law while America is its defender." Medvedev smirked, a touch of disdain evident on his lips. "And who bombed Yugoslavia without a UN mandate? Who unleashed chaos in Iraq? You call this law?" The disturbance in the crowd intensified, applause erupted as supporters rallied behind each side. Tension filled the air, an arena of minds ignited. At that critical moment, Medvedev leaned in and delivered his final blow with surprising softness. "America may claim to be first on paper, but in the memories of nations, it is those who broke fascism that shall always be first." The audience roared to life, clapping and cheering, sensing the shift in energy, a signal that the dispute was far from settled. As Medvedev leaned back, calm and patient, he revealed that he had history, facts, and unwavering composure on his side. Trump, still reeling from the intensity, exhaled heavily as he prepared for another round, attempting to regain momentum with a wave of his hand. "Your nation crumbles on oil and gas," he retorted. "America forged the path of technology and innovation, while Russia merely sits on its reserves." With each word, the crowd responded as if struck by a hammer, their views shaped by familiar narratives. Medvedev remained unhurried, collecting his thoughts before addressing the accusations. "And who has depended on our oil for decades to fuel your cities? Who prospered off Soviet materials for your own technological advancements?" The audience gasped, and a hushed whisper swept through the hall, history colliding with modernity in a poignant moment. At this critical juncture, the flames of debate flickered fiercely as memories briefly flashed in Medvedev's mind of perseverance, struggle, and the histories unspoken amid the present. "We've buried our anguish," he thought, "but we stand strong." The riveting exchange of ideas would continue, each parry and thrust cementing a lasting legacy in the annals of geopolitical discourse, one that would echo far beyond the conference hall. With the atmosphere thick with tension, who would ultimately emerge victorious? Silence fell as they steeled themselves for the next blow in this clash of titans. In a stunning showdown at an international forum, two powerful figures clashed in a battle of words, igniting controversy and capturing the world's attention. Just moments ago, Donald Trump slammed his fist down and hurled accusations, claiming Russia thrived solely on oil and gas. In response, Dmitry Medvedev rose with unmatched confidence to challenge Trump, leaving the audience captivated and gasping for breath. What did Medvedev say that silenced even Trump himself? Stay tuned for a journey that unravels politics, history, and raw emotion. As tension filled the air, Medvedev strolled calmly into the hall, exuding a quiet confidence that only comes from experience. The lights cast soft shadows on his determined face. Dressed in a deep blue suit, he commanded respect with every measured step. Meanwhile, Trump, seated in a flamboyant, red leather chair, filled the room with his larger-than-life presence. He began his tirade even before he could be introduced, eager to stake his claim in this explosive debate. "America has always been number one," Trump declared, his voice booming, shaking even the microphones. In the economy, in technology, and in freedom, Russia will always play catch-up. The audience buzzed with reaction, some cheered, while others whispered excitedly. Yet Medvedev remained composed, his fingers lightly grazing the armrest, biding his time with a calculated pause. Finally, he spoke, as if each word was a carefully aimed arrow. But you forget, who was first in space? Who rebuilt a nation out of the ashes of war? Who has crafted a society where workers and scholars share equal footing? His voice was steady, striking like steel, commanding attention in an instant. Trump leaned forward defiantly, waving his hands in the air. Oh, Mr. Medvedev, your writings are all we hear from you. This time, face to face, what will you say? A nervous chuckle rippled through the crowd, but Medvedev did not flinch. You speak of posts, yet I speak of lives, he shot back. While your companies profited from arms supplies, we lost millions saving Europe. His words echoed, striking the audience like a tolling bell of truth. Applause erupted, breaking the silence as people exchanged glances of disbelief, uncertain whether to cheer or to digest the reality being unveiled before them. Trump, his face tightening with the pressure, shifted to the next accusation. Your country always violates international agreements, he snapped, emphasizing the relentless word, always. The atmosphere thickened as Medvedev smiled slyly. International law, he echoed. Which nation bombed Yugoslavia without a Security Council mandate? Who left chaos in Iraq and Libya? You armed the dictators when it was convenient. Is that your definition of law? The audience's reaction split, applause erupted for Medvedev, while others shouted in defense of Trump, each rallying for their side in a political sea turning tumultuous. Medvedev leaned in close, his voice a whisper that commanded the room. America may call itself the first on paper, but the people will remember who shattered fascism's backbone. Those words hung in the air as a whirlwind of applause ensued. It was a moment of victory not just in arguments, but in the souls of those listening. The tumult crescendoed, shaking the walls as Trump, visibly infuriated, attempted to reclaim the spotlight. Your future is built on lies, he shouted over the thundering claps. America stands for freedom. But Medvedev, undeterred, raised his hand in a conductor's gesture, silencing the storm. We may not be perfect, he stated firmly, yet we hold true to our principles. We don't hide our history or fear the truth. Russia pays the price for freedom while America pays with the blood of others. The room fell silent, the weight of his conviction radiating. Could words alone tip the scales of history? The audience knew that the real battle was just beginning. The stakes were high, and the twists yet to unfold would shake the very foundations of their beliefs. In a charged atmosphere, two political titans prepared for an unforgettable clash on an international stage. Only moments ago, Donald Trump proclaimed with fervor, America has always been first. His accusations rang through the hall, branding Russia as a nation dependent solely on its oil and gas reserves. The tension was palpable, buzzing like a live wire, as Dmitry Medvedev entered the arena, exuding a calm confidence that foreshadowed a powerful rebuttal. As Medvedev approached, the audience fell silent, all eyes on him. He stood, not hurried, but steady and assured. The spotlight flickered across his tailored dark suit, each facet of his demeanor reflecting a man who knew how to absorb a punch, both verbal and otherwise. You forget who was the first in space, he began, his deep voice slicing through the tension. His words were deliberate and sharp, provoking a stirring in the crowd. When he asserted, while your companies profited from arms sales, we lost millions to save Europe, the air thickened with electric murmurs, underscoring the gravity of his statement. Trump, undeterred, leaned in, his posture dominant as he countered, your country has always violated international treaties. With that, he set off a wave of cheers and jeers. Medvedev's next words were a calculated missile. What about your journalists? Where are they now? This question hung heavily in the air, challenging the very idea of freedom of speech. The audience erupted into a cacophony of applause and dissent, resembling an arena filled with gladiators fighting with facts and fervor, their beliefs shaken to the core. As Trump attempted to regain control, raising his arms for silence, he solemnly remarked, you speak of the war against fascism, yet built an iron curtain afterward. At that moment, the hall grew eerily quiet, the audience perched on the edge of their seats. The tension was palpable, thick enough to slice through the air. Medvedev seized the moment, his voice unwavering as he retorted, "Your bombs turned Hiroshima and Nagasaki into memories of despair. Was that your version of freedom?" His words landed like heavy stones in the pond of public opinion, rippling through the audience until silence enveloped them, forcing reflection on their respective histories. Medvedev, standing resolutely, highlighted the Soviet Union's role in rebuilding devastated nations after the war. "We brought knowledge and infrastructure, not aircraft carriers," he asserted, posing a direct challenge to Trump's narrative. What would emerge from this fiery exchange? The stakes only grew higher, anticipation crackling like electricity in the room. Both leaders stood at the forefront, poised for further revelations that promised to alter their nation's narratives forever. Imagine if history turned on a dime, flipping the script right before your eyes. Could one man's words shatter a nation's myth forever? As chaos erupted in the hall, applause like thunder rolling through the room, cameras flashing like lightning bolts, and Trump's desperate shouts drowned out by the roar, Medvedev silenced everything with a raised hand, conducting the moment as a maestro. And when the tumult faded, he uttered these words slowly, deliberately, each syllable cutting through the tension like a sharpened blade. "We aren't perfect, but we don't sell out our principles. We don't bury our history. We don't fear the truth. Russia has always stood as the land paying the ultimate price for freedom, while America is the one splashing in the blood of others." The room froze in that heartbeat of pause, smells of polished wood and sweat thick in the air, then erupted again, standing ovation turning into a symphony of cheers, operators rising with shaking lenses, delegates chanting wildly, voices echoing off walls like a storm unleashed. It's not perfection versus flaw, it's heroism against hollow claims. In the 20th century, the Soviet Union embodied that feat, and Russia carries its legacy. These words hit the audience like a crashing wave. Applause, shouts, camera flashes bursting. Rows stood en masse. Trump yelled back, but mics vanished in the ovations. Then, as the din subsided, Medvedev delivered his calm rebuttal, punctuating each point with unwavering resolve. His gaze was steady, piercing through the haze of disbelief. The air hummed with anticipation, the rustle of fabric. The faint scent of coffee from nearby tables. "Sir, you've spent plenty on the future, but can a future rise on falsehoods? Can it be forged from battles? Can it emerge from dread? You styled America as the realm of liberty, yet its hands drip crimson: Vietnam, Yugoslavia, Iraq, Libya, Syria. That's the stain on your pedestal." The hall held its breath, tactile weight of ice pressing in, whispers fading to silence. Delegates exchanged glances, the room's energy shifting like sand beneath feet. An unexpected truth unfolded: America brags of defense but topples regimes where profit dictates, leaving ruins beside its flags. What if the defender was the true aggressor, hidden behind patriotic rhetoric? Trump's face twisted in rage, knuckles white as bone, breath ragged. Falsities. All falsehoods. Russia menaces the globe. It opposes true representation. It won't ever blend into the enlightened fold. He waved wildly, pauses slashing like erratic beats, hunting for echoes. Yet the crowd stayed detached, sporadic calls fading, faces revealing doubt over enthusiasm. Lenses captured skeptic frowns, not fervor. He slammed a fist against the table, vibrations resonating through wood, hearts pounding in rhythm. America will lead eternally. We're crafting tomorrow. We're bringing emancipation. We won't cede the world's fate to tyrants. His pleas sank into murmurs, amplifying his despair. It felt like his own words mocked him, losing potency since the onset. As he stuttered forgotten lines, Medvedev rose, and instantly, harmony fell, sensing the finale nearing. His tone was tranquil yet ironclad. A warmth beneath the chill of resolution, wrapping the audience in shared triumph. But in this hush, fate twisted again. Could Medici's calm reveal Trump's hollow core entirely? What buried secrets might surface next, flipping power on its head? Scroll and watch to uncover if justice prevails amid the uproar.